now being housed with male inmates. No disrespect to authentic transgenders. This isn't directed at them. When I say male inmates, it's because I've seen these people operate. I've seen their conduct. I've watched their patterns. They've been committing crimes against women. They've been manipulating the staff and the system. They've manipulated the process to get here. So please don't be offended when I say a biological male inmate.
Right.
Because that's just what I see in some of them, not all of them. There are some people here that are authentic that I do believe have a struggle with inner identity and gender. And they refer to themselves as she, her. And there are some that I have that are friends, and I will address them as she, her, they, because I've gotten to know that person. And that person is true to me and authentic in who they are and how they present. And they're not in here manipulating and committing crimes against women or bullying or taking advantage of or pointing.
What do you think? What's the ratio? Like, what's the percentage of people who are like legitimately there for safety measures as opposed to people that are just there to manipulate, cash in on the gold mine that is women's prison?
You know what, friends? There might be more than I've observed, but as far as my personal experience, with about maybe 20 or so since they started coming here in 2021, I've only seen a couple that present as authentic.
Right.
The rest are in romantic relationships with the women. They're getting raped. They're getting really pregnant. They're feeding women narcotics, drugs that they wouldn't normally take.
Right.
This place does have its own drug problem, right? So there's not many that I can look at and legitimately say, you know what, I think we're here for the right reasons. I think we did have a problem in the mental institution and we need a safe space. That is not the case. Largely, they're here because, like you said, this is a playground.
Right.
It's a place where people can come now to spend the duration of their prison sentences juxtaposed to the female anatomy.
Right. Speaking of the female anatomy, how do you feel about medical services? Like, for example, you know that there's priority for gender-specific healthcare in there. It's definitely at the top of the list of priorities. How do you feel that in comparison to healthcare services that are available for women, how do they compare?
Down to the most basic services, the male inmates get priority over the women. They can have a mastectomy done within months of applying for one, but a woman can't have a breast reduction. They can have sex reassignment surgery, but a woman who wants to have her physical appearance altered because of a terrible accident that they survived, they can't get a small surgery to like make them physically whole again.
Because they would consider that cosmetic, right?
So the men can have cosmetic surgery because they are supposed to make them feel better about themselves, their self-esteem, improve their mental health, and I get that. But at the same time, you have women who have issues that they were born with, or like I said, something happened along their life where they were physically altered, and those things can't give a care. Those things aren't necessarily cosmetic.
Now, how do they, I need to ask medical that. How do you deem what is a cosmetic service and what is not? Because I don't know that anybody in prison has ever died of having a penis. I don't think that that's, life-threatening illness or anything. And I don't see how this is life-saving. But on the real, there's not a whole, a really long line for people to get reassignment surgery, is there?
Well, it used to be. So what happened was, when SB 132 got passed, they changed the law to say that biological men that are identifying as non-binary, gender non-conforming, transgender women that haven't had a surgery can now come to the women's institution without the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So, from what I understand, let's just say like the first busload of people to come over to the women's institution, a lot of them were on a list to have the reassignment surgery.
Mm.
However, once they got here, a lot of them came off the list. And when their surgeries came up for them to have them, they refused to have them. So because the SB 132 is making mandatory for them to have the reassignment surgery, they just decided not to have them.
Wow. And that, you would think that would be an automatic, reason to send somebody back if they want to change their mind, because that's clear and undeniable manipulation. But that seems to be widely accepted in this community. How do you feel about disciplinary actions? Are there disciplinary actions ever taken against them under any circumstances?
Well, let's just put it this way. I've only seen or heard of two situations where males identifying as non-males placed in what we call a cage.
Mm-hmm.
It's an actual cage here. It's like a small kennel for humans. And people are inclined to be held for like questioning or interviews, or it's separated from the general population until a process takes place that can figure out what to do with that person next. Mm-hmm. So out of all the things that I've known happen against women, crimes committed against women here, there's only twice that I know of where that person was actually placed in that cage.
Wow.
So you look at the women, there's a woman in the cage every day.
Right. I mean, I was in the cage. Okay. I'm sorry.
Right. For the most trivial things, the woman will be in the cage. She'll be there just to cool her off until, the next shift comes on and sends her back to her unit.
But a violent, registered male sex offender doesn't have to be subjected to that.
Listen, it's not even only that. It's like, let's say there's actual rules violation. Mm-hmm. They will get pass after pass after pass. They won't get written up for whatever reason.
Wow.
The officers here are literally afraid to just have a conversation with them about something that they were alleged to have done to one of the female inmates.
Wow.
So we have none of the staff holding them accountable. That means that they know they can get away with all sorts of vile behavior and conduct for women without receiving a rules violation report, without being put in the cage, without going to administrative segregation, without any consequences. So the behavior just escalates because now they're comfortable in treating us any kind of way that they want. Mm-hmm.
So what this has done is created like the ultimate untouchable privilege group that is completely above the law.
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
Absolutely. So not only do they have more rights than us, more privileges than us, but there is no uniformity of the policies and procedures that are supposed to be implemented when certain disciplinary actions need to be taken.
Like, what's the, I mean, I know what the policy and protocol is, but what happens when people are caught, in the act, whether it's consensual or not? What happens?
Well, first of all, they just made an announcement this week that no means no and yes is not allowed. So there's not supposed to be any romantic conduct happening between inmates at all. It's supposed to be a zero tolerance.
That's exactly what I put.
Your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That's actually exactly what I wrote in the caption of the original tweet, that no means no and yes, it's not allowed, which comes from Priya.
I mean, you say that.
Mm-hmm.
Priya, the Prison Rights Elimination Act. And when a male and a female have been caught in the act, as you say, in the past, there's basically a verbal reprimand. Get away from her, get away from him, separate, bring one person out of the cell or the room. There's just a conversation that's had, maybe a warning, a verbal warning, and that's it. There's no rule violation. There's no person held in the cage. There's no access placement. There's none of that.
Now,
you may not even get a documentation anywhere that even occurs.
Now, I know that there's at least 2 listeners right now that can attest to that can testify to the fact that when 2 women are caught, quote, homosecting, which is what they call lesbian sex in the pen, you get a mark on your C file for being a homosector, and you get moved.
Yes.
This is garbage.
All sorts of things happen. You get retaliated against. You get targeted in the future. You get things put in your file that if you're a lifer and you need to go to board, they're going to bring it up at board and ask you, why did this happen? What were you doing?
Friend, would you like to, you want to call back and I can ask the listeners if they want to put some questions in the comments?
Absolutely.
Okay, call me right back. Love you.
All right.
At this number. Hi, everybody. So Tomiekia is going to call right back for another quick 15-minute phone call. If anybody has any questions that they would like her to address, please put them in the comments and we'll try and cover as many as possible. Sorry about all that drama earlier. And I'm very sorry, Liz, too. I didn't mean it. So we're going to just... I'll let her keep talking about whatever else she wants to touch on. But if you have any specific questions, please feel free to put them in the comments and we will be sure to address all of those. Or if there's any topic you'd specifically like her to touch on, I'll be more than happy to pass that along as soon as she calls back. Oh, here we go. What are the number of deaths due to having a penis? I don't think any. You do get an H, right? You do get an H on your card when you're caught homosecting, right? This is, Tomiekia was just talking right now about how there's really no action taken when men and women are caught in the act of sex. But when 2 women are caught, from our own personal experience, it's a big rules violation. You get moved, you get separated, you get H on your file for being a homosector. This is clearly anti-woman, anti-lesbian, just everything female is happening in our Department of Corrections, in our state, in our nation. Here's a question. What should we do on the outside? Protesting, raising awareness online never feels like enough. It doesn't. At the end of every day, I have to take inventory and I feel like, oh gosh, could have done so much more today. If we didn't have to sleep, I think some of us probably wouldn't. I think as sensitive and not radical as it sounds, contacting your elected officials, your council members, your assemblymen, your sheriffs, your senators, your representatives, it makes a difference. You got to press on them when these bills come up that are anti-women, that are definitely going to put women in danger. They have to listen. They do listen. The letters do matter. Speaking at public hearings, like at the Public Safety Committee, calling in makes a huge difference because there is record of this dissent against, what they're doing to us. And it's important to use the few rights to stand up and say stuff that we still have left, especially in honor of the ones who are unable to speak, the ones who are silenced on a level like Tomiekia is. They can't even complain. These women are so afraid to even ask for the complaint form in order to submit a formal inmate complaint because they've watched the few who have, like Tomiekia, for example, Kathleen Quinn, they've watched them lose everything. We as women were creatures of comfort. The fear of losing your roommates that you've spent years cultivating, that's scary. The moving is just terrifying constantly. It's something like it used to really freak me out when I had to move. I would just be terrified because it's having to start over all over again. And it takes so long to finally meld personalities and have a functional room. But I keep trying to tell the women without being too harsh, the fact of the matter is that it would be much better to get a little bit uncomfortable now, because what's to come if you don't get uncomfortable now is really scary. It's going to be more than uncomfortable. And there's so much that lies on their shoulders. They have to go through so much. They have to carry so much of this burden on their own. And I hate having to put more on them, but there's no way that this is going to change unless they start acting. And we need to make sure that they're confident and they feel safe to stand up for themselves and use their voices. Because if they knew that they had so much support, it'd make a difference. If they knew that there were lawyers that were willing to take on cases when they're completely denied of even their most basic human rights, then they would be more confident. There are very few lawsuits that get filed in the women's prisons. Men file lawsuits on the daily, but women don't, because historically there's nothing positive that comes out of anything. You complain, it just goes unresolved, or you get retaliated against, like Tomiekia and the other women who have stood up. The retaliation for the transfers is very intense. Let me see some more questions for her. I think online action would probably be good. If we could do, we can organize something together. I can put that on the to-do list. I think Tomiekia really needs to get published. She would love to get an op-ed published anywhere. She's totally open to that. I was actually pitching, or I'm going to be pitching her the new OMG, the O'Keefe Media Group. I already put in an application for her. I think she's been published in the Post Millennial. Libby Evans has been really, really kind, spent some time with Tomiekia and published a couple of her articles. But I think, send us some suggestions. If anybody has, some great ideas and is willing to, put some effort into it with us, we would totally appreciate it. And we're open to all kinds of suggestions. We just have a really huge event that's coming up, and we've focused almost all of our energy. We're actually going inside the prison. We will be there next Tuesday, and it's going to be the first time for myself and Liz and Tiasha, and all pretty anxious. We're very excited, but it's going to be painfully beautiful. Let me see if this is her. Hello? Okay, it's her. The Central California Women's. So I'm going to let her know what some of these questions are. And your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link. Hi, friend. Hi. Hi. There's some suggestions in here to get some of your writings published. And I let them know, you've been published in the Post Millennial. We're working on getting you some action with the O'Keefe Media Group. And I asked everybody to just send messages if there's anything they can directly connect us with. Send them those last 2 weeks of the essays that I wrote on... what is that? I forgot the name of that website. And then the Stat News article? Yes. I'll make sure in the next tweet that we'll include all of Tomiekia's publications. And then I put a lot of her stuff on my personal Patreon. So I'll send the link to that too, just so you can see all there's a lot of stuff. She's got a lot of content. It's definitely worth the read. So I have to go outside. So guess what? Yes. The man came in the neighborhood. They must have told him I was out there talking about the situation. Wow. Yeah, this is how it goes. So for listeners who can't necessarily hear what's going on, Tomiekia was in the day room talking to me, and someone reported to one of the men, and the man came out into the day room because they overheard what she was talking about. So this is how uncomfortable and like unlivable these circumstances are. She's silenced on a level where she can't even have a private conversation on the phone with me without somebody rolling up on her. This is how it's been since it started. I remember when the Amazon creepy creep was always breathing down your neck every time you were on the payphone when it was still payphones. It's the psychological warfare and the levels of intimidation are so oppressive. I know that it wears on you. There's no respite. And then your housing, I mean, they've infiltrated everything they possibly can. What about you?
If you'd like to make a call.
Well, drop the call. I don't know. I think Tomiekia went outside, so I don't know if she lost signal, but she left the unit to get away from the trans person that came to stalk the phone call. So hopefully she'll be able to call back right now. If not, I do want to thank everybody for hanging in there and listening this long. We appreciate it very much. If this is popular enough, we can continue to do this regularly, not just feature Tomiekia, but get some other women involved who are not too afraid to speak up. Some we may, need to maintain anonymity because the fear is real. Normally, I would encourage them to ditch the anonymity, but under the circumstances, the threat of retaliation is so real that I completely understand and respect it because these women are losing their parole dates. They're losing everything for speaking up and speaking out. I know it's going to probably have to get a little bit worse before it gets better, but it hurts to have to know that they have to be subjected to more. It's humiliating.